There are so many demands on you. Demands at home, in the boardroom, and in the bedroom. You have to be jack of all trades, wearing a different hat when the moment arises. You're on all the time, always on the clock, always catching up. Take care of you. Introducing Your Media, your podcast network that meets you where you are, when you need it, at your time, in your space, when you feel like it. You come first. Your Media, where you are. Married to Me with Popo takes a provocative look at our ideas of self and family in the 21st century.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Married to Me with Popo. I have been quiet for about 3 weeks now. Life's challenges, COVID level 4. Our country is facing a lot right now, but I'm happy to be back. Today is the 21st of July. It's actually a day after my 21st birthday because I feel 21. My 37th birthday was yesterday, and I am excited. I'm healthy. I'm happy. I'm blessed, and I'm just glad to be back. So tonight in studio, I have a gentleman by the name of Doni Muller. And today we'll be speaking about raising children as a melanated gay man in South Africa. Doni, welcome.
Hey, Popo. Thank you so much for having me. Hey, everyone. I'm so excited to be here tonight.
Thank you so much, firstly, for agreeing to be on the podcast. I really felt like yours was quite a compelling story. And that it really just spoke to what a lot of people, not just in South Africa, in the world, are battling with. I think the LGBTQIA plus community in general is still at a place where they are not necessarily feeling accepted. And I think that as we begin to have more conversations, the more we begin to normalize people living their lives the way they choose to live their lives. So thank you for that. Doni, tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do before we dive in. Just introduce us to you.
I always feel like that is such a loaded question because I can really go on and on and on around who I am and what it is that I do. So I'm going to try and trim it down. Yeah, I am what modern society would call a life coach. I prefer to call myself a success coach. Sorry, slurring my words. For the sake of marketing, but I am actually an agent for transformation, which means that my aspiration is to inspire and encourage and lead my clients to think progressively. To basically help you develop a game plan so that you can have a, dare I say, more meaningful life, so that you're able to, in the words of Beyonce, upgrade yourself, basically, so that you can live a life that is authentically yours. You know, that you're not entrapped, that you're not stuck with the poverty leash around your neck for eternity. I want to teach people rather how to unlock, how to unleash what is essentially within them already.
Yeah.
That greatness, I believe we're all pregnant with. So that in a nutshell is what it is that I do. I'm a life coach that helps people live their lives optimally.
Fantastic. So before we get into what your life in the present day is, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood, about your history, about Doni as a young man, Doni growing up, the climate in the country at the time, etc., etc.?
Well, I grew up in a township, as I prefer to call it, named Ocean View, and Ocean View was part of a project, a government project of the time, that was formed due to the forest removal that happened way back in the Arctic area. So the area that I grew up in was established, I think, roughly in 1969. I was born in 1974. in the heart of apartheid. My mother was a single mother. My father was a sperm donor, as I prefer to refer to him as. Never really had a relationship with him, and I was certainly not because I didn't want to have a relationship with him, but mainly because he was unavailable. He carried the world on his own shoulders. And the truth is, he was already married. He met my mother when she was around 18 years old, lied to her. My mother was a very naive young girl. From what I've learned over the years, she grew up on a farm, came to Cape Town, went to work in a clothing factory, and met this guy named Ishmael, right? And he swooned her, basically. She fell in love, and she fell pregnant. And then when she was pregnant, she said to him, listen, I come from a very staunch Christian family, and because I'm pregnant, I'm now bringing shame on my family. You're going to have to marry me before anybody finds out. And he then said to her, I can't marry you. She says, why not? He says, because I'm already married. And he already had a family. So he abandoned his family to start a relationship with my mother that never should have been in the first place. And based on that, those circumstances, he obviously never could be a father. To me, he could never be present in my life. So I grew up in a township raised by my mother, who had worked then essentially raised by my grandmother.
Donnie, sorry to interrupt you, but I think that your internet may be overloaded or something like you are. I'm losing so much of what you're saying. I don't know if you've got a lot of devices that are connected, but from my end, I'm losing a lot of what you're saying. Like you're lagging terribly.
Really?
Yeah, you're lagging quite badly. I'm hearing maybe every second word. I'm not, we can't, I don't think it's gonna work for us to move forward like this. So I don't know if maybe you can disconnect something, just so that we have more clarity in our connection.
Just give me a second if you don't mind. Terribly sorry about this.
No problem.
Me with Popo takes a provocative look at our ideas of self and family in the 21st century.
Okay, we're just waiting for Donnie to come back to get us connected. Okay, let's see now.
I apologize. Yeah, modern society, every child on a device in the house as it is, and the weather is not helping. Unfortunately, we have stormy weather in Cape Town today, so that also obviously interferes with signal. So let's hope that
that's much
better. How does it sound?
It's much better.
Does it sound better already?
It sounds better. Okay, you can carry on with what you were saying.
So yeah, as I was saying, my mother then had to work, and I was raised by my grandmother. Very old-fashioned, I would almost say Victorian type of upbringing. My grandmother was very stern. She was perhaps a little stoic, if I could call it that. Friendly, charismatic, but stoic at the same time. She was hell-bent on getting us to speak properly, dress properly, be presentable, make eye contact, acknowledge people by their name. So yeah, very please, thank you, no thank you, good morning, Mrs., good morning, auntie, uncle, by their names, right? So you acknowledge people by their identity. They were hell-bent on that. And so that's in a nutshell, basically, my upbringing. I went to school in Ocean View. I couldn't finish school because I had to go and work. I was the eldest of 5 children. My mother then subsequently had 4 more kids, all from different guys, all from different men.
Yeah.
Did that make my mother a hoe? No, it didn't make her a hoe. It just made her emotionally immature. She had horrible judgment when it came to men. Um, she tried to have stable relationships. It didn't work. Um,
Mm,
Perhaps because it was never modeled to her. I don't know. Perhaps we talk about that a little later as we progress. But yeah,
mm,
so she had 5 kids. I was taken from school. I then had to put myself through school. At a
mm,
later stage in my life, I put myself through college, started my own businesses, and worked myself to where I am today. Tough
mm.
life, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
I have PTSD in my in my history. My
Yeah.
mother was involved with a guy in a very abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for male role models in my life. There was none in sight.
Yeah.
This guy that she was involved with, definitely not. He was willing to kill me. That's how much he
Mm,
hated me, and I can't say that the feeling wasn't mutual.
yeah.
Um, Fortunately, from that relationship came my late sister,
Mm,
who I'm sure we'll talk about later. Because if my mom didn't marry her,
mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, if my mom wasn't involved with him and didn't have her, then I would not be a dad today.
Yes, yes. Okay. Before we get there, before we get there, and before we speak about what it is to about the navigation of being a man of color in South Africa, raising children, what that looks like, what you're facing, what you have to navigate. I'd like to speak about firstly Doni as a black man in South Africa, coming to the acknowledgement of the fact that his sexuality is something that is not necessarily accepted, but choosing to be true to himself, and walk what was always going to be a difficult journey. Yeah, let's go to the beginning. Were you always open about it? Were you always honest with yourself about the fact that you were a gay man, or what was it? What was your story with that, specifically with Donnie?
All right. So growing up in a Christian home with very staunch Christian families, we
Mm,
were taught these Christian values or doctrines, rather, not necessarily values, but doctrines as I have discovered they are today.
mm,
So, growing up in this Christian background, with Christian family, going to church on a Sunday, being in Sunday school, being in youth, involved in community, all sorts of Christian stuff that Christian people do. Um, I learned that God has created Adam and Eve. Um, God has created man and woman. Sorry, well, my throat now starts scratching. Man and woman, and anything other than that is an abomination.
mm,
Also, of course, that you are now doomed to forever damnation. You're going to hell, and that's where you're going to spend the rest of your life. So, obviously, me discovering that I have these feelings, I prayed and I fasted and I cried, and I went up to church and they laid hands on me, wanting
mm.
to pray the gay away.
Pray the gay away, honey.
Pray the gay away. So
Yeah.
I lived with this internal judgment, this
Mm,
internal condemnation, um, self-loathing, hatred towards
mm,
myself, looking
mm,
in the mirror and being totally ashamed of what it is that I see, because I look around me and I see men, young guys like myself, and I get butterflies in my tummy.
mm,
I'm
which
supposed to
is
look at
something
girls,
that's
so I
totally
force
not
my
normal.
brain. It's not normal. I'm taught that's not normal, so I force my brain to rather look at girls. And the female gender is very attracted to Donnie as
Mm-hmm.
a young man, and I'm very attracted to them, but not in that way. It's
Mm,
my sister, and I enjoy the female company, and but I'm not sexually attracted. So I live with this in my brain. And besides just church, walking down the streets, I grew up in a township in this community where there's the abuse of alcohol, the abuse of drugs, this gangsterism, all these social ills that exists. I was exposed to. So walking down the street, I suppose I had somewhat of femininity showing. Excuse me. And the guys would call me Muffy as I'm walking down the street, or Donnie the Bunny, those were the kind of terminologies that was referenced. I've never really understood what that means and why reference to a bunny. But I suppose because it's soft, it's a soft animal. It's not necessarily a strong animal. So that's the sort of reference that was made to me. I was tall, I was slender, I was strong built, so it was expected of me to play rugby. But I had no interest in rugby. I loved dancing, so I took up dancing. And because of that, I was made fun of. Because I'm supposed to play soccer. You're a black boy. You're a man of color. You play soccer. Even my grandmother said, "But go kick a ball for God's sake," And I would, and I could, but it just didn't resonate with me. And I don't know if any of that has to do with sexuality necessarily, but it certainly had a lot to do with personality, if that makes any sense. So I think I was sort of being put labels on because of my personality. And I never even really, I haven't indulged in sexual relations at the time where I knew exactly, or I wasn't in relationships where I knew that I am gay.
Yeah.
I explored, yes. I experienced things with other boys, but I mean, we were young, we were teenagers, we were doing things that I guess teenage boys do. But it wasn't love. I didn't know what it was. It was fun. It was explorative. So again, even that, like church says, it's immoral. I'm going to hell. So again, you go inside your head, you condemn yourself, and you want to wash it away, and then you go on your knees and you pray the gay away, and tomorrow morning you wake up and you're like, is it gone? Is it out of me? And then it's not. You walk down the street and there's that feeling is again. I was about 19 years old and I worked in Simonstown, and that's where the Navy base is. And they had these divers, these Navy divers, they were called SEALs, in training. And these guys would run up and down the streets with very heavy bags. And I realized then, oh my God, you like guys.
Yeah.
So you know what I did? I went to find myself a girl. I had to go get myself a girl immediately. Because this feeling that I have inside of me is just disgusting. Oh my God, I'm going to hell. What's wrong with me? Nobody's going to love me. People are going to make fun of me. They're already making fun of me. So I try and straighten my shoulders a little more. I try and surround myself with manly men. I found the manliest men that were dancers, straight guys, and those were my friends. And I lived with this secret inside of me. Because society taught me to hate myself, to hate what it is that I'm feeling. It's not natural.
So then you go find yourself a girl. How long did you then basically deny yourself you and who you were? How far did you actually take it with women? What did that look like?
All right. So if you ask how far did I take with women, did I have sex with women? Yeah, absolutely.
No. I mean in terms of how do I put it? You found a girl. What you had, was it just like a play relationship? Was it a serious relationship? I'm saying, how far did that go? Like, how far did you go into what was actually like a facade? You know what I mean? Because
No,
there are a lot of
it was, yeah, I hear the question. It was real. It was 100% real.
mm-hmm.
Um, I'll tell you why it was real, because that's the kind of person that I am. I'm the kind of person that gives 100% of myself or nothing, right? So I think I wanted it to be real as well. So for that moment, it was. Did
Yeah.
we have fun? Absolutely. Was I attracted to her? Absolutely. And there was a few women in my life. But I think it was really more about an image that I had to uphold, because, you know,
Yeah. No, no,
not
no.
for
I
us.
completely,
That's
I
white
completely
people
understand.
stuff,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
you
I
know.
completely
So
understand, because I mean, I myself come from a family where it's born again Christians. My sister came out to my family as pansexual last year, and she was asked to give my parents a holiday from her. They asked her to leave the house for a while because they didn't know how to process what she had said to them, you know. And it's almost like you're the wrong, I'm going to say in inverted commas, sexuality, almost there are some families where it literally, it's as you suddenly become someone else to them. You know what I mean? They can't be like, okay, this was Balisa today, it's the same Balisa now that she's come and told us that she's gay. We can separate the two. We may not understand the thing, but we can love her. We will love her anyway, as we have loved her. It's almost like a plague. I don't know. Like, people have such a strong reaction to people that choose an other sexuality, you know. And I mean, just the fact that people have to come out for something that they just are, you know, just means that there's so much hostility towards other sexualities, you know. And I just, it's really sad that they should be other. I think at the end of the day, it should just be, I'm straight, I'm gay, I'm pan, I'm bi, and it should be normalized. But I'm saying I understand exactly what it was you were facing. And I think that for most of the melanated community, especially in Africa, where we have countries where it's actually to be illegal to be gay. You can be thrown in prison for being gay. You know, that's really problematic. You know, sorry I interrupted you. Carry on.
not at all,
Yeah.
not at all. No, you make valuable points. I think for
Mm.
me, the biggest fear was losing my family,
Yeah.
or the shame that I would bring upon my family, because already my mother has all of these children from different men. So
Mm.
now they're going to blame her because she didn't raise me properly. You know,
Mm.
we already excluded in such a major way, from our church community, our church family, and my grandmother's family, my grandmother's sisters and their children.
Mm.
So growing up, it was already, we were the family frowned upon, my mother's children. We were the family frowned upon. We were the family, side conversations was held about. The whispers, if you walk into the room. I was literally told not to play with my one cousin. He was my best friend, and this is the first time I'm sharing this story.
Mm.
So he was my best friend since we were little, since we went to school, right? And then I was about 11, 12, something around there, and I had a crush on a girl. And I
You're
wrote
lagging
letters
again,
to
though.
this girl. Eh?
Okay. I said you're lagging
Uh,
again.
oh,
Can
yeah.
you try
So,
speak now?
okay. So I was penning love notes to this girl, right? That I
Mm.
crushed on. I mean, even today, still, I think she's incredibly beautiful, and we are
Mm.
still friends. And I loved her. Whether
Mm.
this was a romantic love, that was definitely not sexual attraction because I was 11. What did I know about sex?
Yes.
Um, Then my cousin's mom, who was probably my aunt or whatever, she's my mother's cousin. She came across these notes that I wrote, told my teacher, and we were separated from that moment on. I was 11, 12 years old. And from that moment, that part of the family wanted nothing to do with me, wanted nothing to do with my mother's children, right? And then it came out. I think I was about 21 when I actually came out of the closet. And of course you can imagine now they're talking. Now they're talking. The disgrace that I am. I am an embarrassment to the family, and I've been raised properly. Or is it because I didn't grow up with a father? That's the reason why I'm gay. And because I didn't grow up with a father, it's obviously my mother's fault. Because she couldn't close her legs. She couldn't keep a man. So all of these sort of stigmas and labels were put onto us. They didn't take the time to get to know us. They didn't take the time to find out the values that my mother's raising us with. And I suppose being thrown in the deep end like we were, I suppose my mother could have been bitter. She could have been angry. She could have been, I don't know, all kinds of things, but she wasn't. She taught us to keep our heads up high, and all those values that I spoke of earlier on, the yes, please, no, thank yous, good morning, ma'am, good morning, sir, uncle this, auntie that, making eye contact, acknowledging people by their name, all of those things was instilled, and those were actually the factors that built up character. So they didn't get to know us. They got to know the labels that they've put on us.
Okay, so let's fast forward a bit. So now Doni comes out. I don't really want us to go into the story of how you met your husband, because I don't think that's really the point of this conversation. But now you are married, you have a partner. Tell us you actually told me something really interesting about how you and Jonathan had wanted children, but didn't know how that was going to happen. Tell me about that.
Okay, so firstly, I have to tell you a little bit about how I met him, because I think that's important.
Okay.
So I went back into the closet. Can you believe it? So I became a reborn Christian. I've always been Christian, but I decided to rededicate my life to Christ, and I threw myself wholeheartedly into the church. And again, of course, there comes this doctrine. So I'm celibate for a number of years. And then I meet another woman. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about that relationship, but it didn't end well. She was in another province and I was here in the Western Cape. And then I realized this is not going to work. And we were about to get married. We already did the traditional wedding, but now we're going to do the white wedding. But we're provinces apart, and I'm just in a bad space. And I'm sitting, and one morning I wake up and I'm asking myself, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I go and have lunch with a friend of mine. And after that lunch, I hear this voice. Is it God? Is it within me? Is it my answer? What is it? I don't know, but I heard a voice. And the voice said, to thine own self be true. And I'll never forget it. I heard it audibly. And I kept on hearing it within me. And it told my soul that I have to be truthful to myself. And then the word of God revealed itself to me around who I am and how I am loved by him, because I didn't want to surrender my relationship with God. I loved that relationship that I had. But how could I have that relationship if I'm gay? So for me, this is my story. I don't know what other people experience and how they feel, and I'm not here to change anybody's mind, but I heard what I heard. And I decided to myself, I will be true and I will hold on to this relationship that I have with God. I'm not going to forsake that relationship because he's not forsaking me, right? Then I decided I want to be married. I want to have a relationship, but I'm not going to play any games. I know exactly what I want. So I started manifesting that personality, that person. And then I met my husband. And when we met, our date was a series of interviews. You can ask him
Okay.
the story, it will tell you exactly the same.
Mm.
What's your favorite color? What kind of wine do you like to drink? What's your favorite snack? What kind of food do you like? What was your family upbringing? Do you believe in God? Um,
Mm.
do you want to have kids? Now, my husband is significantly younger than what I am. So that was an issue for me. It was never an issue for him. And I said to him, listen, I'm not here to play. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste my time. I want to have a
Mm-hmm.
family. It's that time for me now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He said, but that's what I want. And our values were just so aligned. It was like the stars came together and the stars gifted me this man named
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan. And
Mm-hmm.
we got engaged. I asked his mother's permission if I could marry him. Short after that,
Yeah.
his mother died, right? We got
Mm.
married, but before we got married, we decided we're going to adopt a child, right?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
There's so much to this story, but because of time, I'm going to try and condense it.
Yeah.
So we decided we're going to have a child, and he goes overseas for work, and I attend adoption workshops, and we are starting to get ready, planning the wedding, planning the adoption, etc. This sister that I was talking about, who is the product of this abusive relationship that my mother had with the narcissist that gave me PTSD, she fell ill and died,
Mm.
leaving behind 3 beautiful children.
Mm. Mm.
Um, the last born, in particular, I was alongside her when she was in hospital with that little one. And
Okay.
he was born prematurely. And I
Mm.
sat and I kango cared for
Mm.
him because she
Mm.
was very ill. She couldn't move around. So she would express, and I would
Yeah.
go up to, he went from ICU to high care.
Mm.
So I went up there several times a day and I would feed him,
Yeah.
right? I gave him the name Zion because now Jonathan wanted 3 kids. I
Okay.
said, I am too old. I only want 1 kid. I wanted a
Mm.
boy. His name should be Zion. Jonathan says he prefers a girl. So I said, okay, because we are now saying we're coming down from 3 to 1, I'm
Yeah.
okay if we adopt a girl. So then the
Yeah.
girl's name will be Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so my sister gives birth to this boy, and I said, listen, Jonathan and I are having a baby next year. I wanted a boy.
Yeah.
So I'm not having a boy. He wants a girl. His mind is made up. We're getting a girl. So um,
Mm.
you can have the name Zion if you wanted. She's like, I
Mm-hmm.
love that name.
Yeah.
And she allowed me to
Oh.
name him Zion. And I
Wow.
was there every single day caring for this boy. When she came from hospital, she came to be with Jonathan and I for a little bit.
Mm.
And she used to, when we come together, we are very close to the family. We are a very loving family. When we
Mm-hmm.
got together, whenever we got together, she would take Zion literally and give him to Jonathan and say, here's your son. Literally
Yeah.
every time. Go
Sure.
to your dad.
Sure.
Little did we know what is waiting down the line. When she
Wow.
passed on, I had a conversation with my family. I'm like, this is the situation. The
Mm.
dad of this baby boy is not in his life at present. There's a
Mm.
lot of stuff surrounding that story as well. Um,
Mm. Mm.
Now, remember, my family is very Christian. Um,
Yeah.
sorry. So I'm expecting some pushback. And also, this is my sister's child.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the plan. We're gonna adopt a girl. So the one night I'm lying awake in bed, I can't sleep. I
Mm.
wake up the next morning and I'm restless. I look at Jonathan. He looks at me and he read my mind. He said, "You think we should take Zion?" I said, "Babes,
Sure.
I didn't know how to put that to you
Sure.
because I don't want
Yeah.
to burden you with my family stuff.
Yeah.
But do you
Yeah.
think we should?" Okay, now let's present it to the family and hear what they said. We went to my sisters and we said, listen, this is the thing. How do you feel if Jonathan and I take Zion?
Yeah.
They literally gave him to us and said, we couldn't have found better parents. I spoke to his other 2 siblings, to Jean,
Wow.
the older one, who was already about, it was, Jean was 9 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I said, listen, and they've only known Jonathan and I together, and they've only known me to be this way, to be gay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
At this point, my family and I mean, they don't have a, my sisters love me unconditionally. They don't have a problem with my lifestyle. I'm not promiscuous. I'm not bringing shame on the family. I
Yeah.
am actually quite normal, believe it or
Yeah.
not, you know. And that normality was created for me in my family. That's my safety net. And my
Mm.
family embraced me, and many of my friends embraced
Yeah.
me as well when I came out. I mean, I have to be honest and give them credit as well. A lot of people came around me and made me feel it's okay. And then I met my gay family, you know, in gay community, we choose our family, and I met my gay family, and
Mm.
I was taught a lot of self-love there. Met my husband, taught me how to love myself unconditionally too. And yeah,
Mm.
today we have the privilege of raising three kids. Those three kids that was left to us by my sister, who's no longer with us
Mm.
on this planet.
Sure. So a blessing really came from a tragedy. You know, when you initially told me that story, that was my first thought, and I was like, I was thinking to myself, was that insensitive to say? But I was like, no, it literally
No,
a blessing
it's
came
the
from a
truth.
tragedy. I mean, I really do believe that. I believe every human being has their path, and that was your sister's path. That was the amount of life she was going to be given. You know what I mean? But it's almost like God and these children's ancestors were like, no, but we've got a plan for you. You know, we've got we've got this couple, we've got these two men who want children. Your mom's life is going to end, but the children and these two men are going to be a blessing to each other. You know, I couldn't help but see the beauty in it. You know, it's like it's bittersweet. It reminds me of, you know, there's situations where like my grandmother passed away 3 months to the day before my daughter was born. My daughter was her first granddaughter, and I gave her my grandmother's name, and it was almost something
Oh,
that
sweet.
comforted the family. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And there's a girl who last week lost her dad, and 2 days later she gave birth to a baby girl. You know, and I was asking her, which part of your heart is mourning and which part of your heart is happy, and she was like, I don't know, both things are happening at once, but I found that because um I have this child. I almost feel like my dad crossed over and carried this child to the world with me. For some reason, I feel like he was connected to this somehow. And before this child
Mm.
came forth, she sat in my father's hands, you know, and I've heard a lot of beautiful stories like that, you know. So yeah, so getting back to the story, so you now say to the family, we want to take these children. Now you have these three kids. I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that they responded and reacted positively, seeing as how they are Christian. But I imagine that there were certain areas in your lives, be it friendships or other relationships, where the response or the reaction wasn't so positive. Can you maybe give me examples of some of those reactions, because they had to have been?
Yeah. But to be honest with you, my family, they've embraced the, because look, I raised my siblings basically,
Mhm.
and they've seen me around their kids, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and my cousins saw me around their kids. So at this point, I have proven myself over and over to my family. Not that I needed to or wanted to, it's just my
Mm,
character. You know,
mm,
to thine own self be true. I am true to who I am 100%. What you see is
mm,
what you get. I some might like me, some might not, and I'm okay with that. I
mm,
There's no need for me to put up a facade. There's no need for me to put up a show anymore. I'm embracing myself 100% for who it is that I am, you know. And
mm,
if you don't want to be a part of my life because of my sexuality, and mind you, sexuality means sex, means you're not a part of that.
mm,
Why do
mm.
you care?
Yeah.
You
Like I
know,
always
why
say,
why
people
why
need,
is it why, Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it an issue for you? So
People need to stop policing other people's genitals. That's really the way I feel about it. You know, which is which is why I think it's important to have such conversations. Yeah.
I agree 100%. So
Mm.
for me, it is a matter of character. You
Mm.
know, don't box people, don't label people. So
Mm-hmm.
there are obviously a lot of people that has a lot to say, but you know what, Popo, the truth is, I'm grown now. I don't
Mm.
care about what they have to say. You know,
Mm.
it's Ayanla Van Zandt that says, "What other people think of you is none of your business." You
Yeah.
know, but I'm going to tell you this much. I'm going to say this much. Do you know where it hurts the most?
Mm.
Is in the place of worship. I can't
Mm.
take my kids to church because the church does not. They don't have space for my community.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have to worship at home. You know, the same God, the
Mm.
same, but some same Bible, same
Mm.
worship songs, same scriptures, but we do that at home.
Yeah.
Me, my husband, and our kids. We cannot go and worship in a church because they don't
Mm.
want us. And you know
Mm.
what? It's not that I'm not making this up because
Yeah.
I have tried. I've
Yeah.
literally, because I have to protect these kids now, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
what they say to Jonathan and I doesn't matter to me. We can stand up for ourselves. We can protect ourselves. We can clap back if we need to clap back, or we can be quiet if we need to keep quiet. But what
Yeah.
about these kids that are
Yeah.
innocent, that don't know the perverted thoughts that these
Mm-hmm.
adults have about us? All
Mm-hmm.
these kids know is that we love them. All
Mm-hmm.
these kids know is that we provide for them. All these
Mm.
kids know is that we protect them. All these
Mm.
kids know is that this is their safety, this is their security,
Yeah.
this is their home. We are their parents, you
Yeah.
know. But the adults in church, they think
Yeah.
we're an abomination. So they
Yeah.
don't want anything to do with us. So we do scurry. I
Mm.
have to be honest with you. We do scurry
Mm.
in wanting to protect our kids. So
Yes.
we don't expose them to
Mm-hmm.
the bigotry. We don't expose them to the hypocrisy. We don't
Mm.
expose them knowingly
Yeah.
to the prejudice of the church.
Yeah.
So we
But the
expose
world is
them
the
to God.
world. Honey, the world is the world, and it's not just church, it's school. It's how have they been able to integrate in terms of friends? Like I'll give you an example. And I struggled to make friendships with parents of the children that my kid went to school with. I found that married chicks weren't feeling me. They were just like, this single bitch, we are not gonna. So I was always
Mm,
sidelined, and I found that because I was the single mom, who was always looking hella cute. um I was sidelined by the married mothers. My child wouldn't be invited to certain parties because the married mothers had a clique that I couldn't be a part of.
yeah,
They were like, you can't sit
yeah,
with us, you're single, we don't want you in our homes because you do not have a partner, and therefore we do
yeah,
not trust you. So what I'm saying is, you can protect your kids as much as you do, but they live in the world.
yeah,
So how what is it that your children have faced in the community, at school, not just in church? Other children have a mom and a dad. Your children have a dad and a dad. What has that experience been for them? And I know you're saying you don't care, right? But I think that this conversation isn't about you or me, it's about everyone.
mm,
So I'd like to know what experiences they've had and how you've navigated around those conversations and those prejudices that your children at some point are going to face for the fact that they are being raised by two gay men.
mm. So, um, both my husband and I are very attuned,
Hmm.
and I suppose to a degree overthinkers, and over planners. So we always dive into something with our everything. So we do a lot of reading, a lot of
Yeah.
research, and we have open conversations. So when we took Zion to his school the first time, Zion went to school immediately when we got him permanently with us. That was literally a week after my sister passed away. He was housed with us legally, and we put him into a school. And the first thing we spoke to the principal about was, look, what you see in front of you is a married couple. What you see in front of you are two dads. How is this going to affect my child? It's not. We are not the only gay couple at that particular school. Now he's gone to the big school, right? Same thing. I had the conversation with the principal, had the conversation with the HOD. We literally have parents that insist, because Zion in particular is very precocious. He is very social. He's very talkative. So kids are very attracted to him. So everybody wants to be Zion's friend. And so we get invited a lot. But what we have to be careful for, though, is that we are not the token gay couple friend.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So we have found that a lot of people want to be able to say, like they want to say, I've got a black friend. They also want to say, I have a gay friend. And we're not here for that. Yeah, we're not here for that. We're not playing that game because there is nothing circusy about us. There's nothing show-offish about us. This is not a freak show. This is a real family dealing with real lives, and you will be our friend on merit. We are not desperate for friends. So coming back to your question around how the kids are dealing with it, to Jean, the older one, he is very aware, right?
Yeah.
But I think because we've always, and his mother and I, we were like this. So he knows me from birth, literally. I mean, I went through that entire pregnancy with her, rubbing her belly, singing to him, talking to him. So when she gave birth, he responded to my voice, because I mean, that's just how aligned we are. So we talk about these things. We are a family that sit around the table and we have dinner conversations, and we talk about these things very openly. And up till this point, they have not experienced anything. Yes, people ask questions, but kids are innocent.
Yeah.
Kids are very innocent. They don't know that there's something abnormal about us until their parents start saying that's not
true. And I will say this about our children's generation. They are definitely, I feel like they are the start of a generation of acceptance. I find their awareness around acceptance to be so far ahead than my generation, your generation. If anything, my daughter personally has forced upon me a sensitivity for addressing people and their sexualities in intentionally. Like, she was like, you have to be intentional about being respectful and calling people what they say they want to be called, and being aware of the fact that it's not good enough that you use a slur and say, oh, but I didn't mean to. It means that you didn't care enough to know better, and I find that our kids' generation is just that generation that really is beginning to normalize people actually just doing whatever the fuck they want to do with their genitals because they belong to them. My daughter does not flinch when she speaks about someone being gay, being bisexual. It's almost like her saying, oh, that's a table. There's no emotion attached to it. There's no shock value. It's not a secret. She doesn't whisper. I feel like their generation is the generation that's becoming loud and proud. I think my generation maybe started that, but we were still a little bit iffy about it, but I'm definitely seeing such a profound change, and I really thought, Doni, to be honest with you, I really thought that being a black man in South Africa, a gay black man raising kids, that you'd have a lot more pushback than it seems you do have, and I think for me, it's really just encouraging It means that our country is a lot further along than I actually thought it was. And maybe we are moving to a place, especially in what is Africa. South Africa is an anomaly, I think.
Yeah.
And especially
Yeah.
Cape Town. I think Cape Town as well, specifically Cape Town and Joburg have really become havens, for the LGBT
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
but yeah. I think because I really thought that it was a lot worse than it actually is, and I'm happy it isn't. I'm happy it isn't. I wasn't. So now I'm not like, oh damn, I really wanted hotter content. Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, homophobia is alive and well.
Yeah.
Let's not be naive about that. Prejudices are alive and well. There
Mm,
are many, many pigs in this world, you know.
yeah.
So we're not oblivious to that. We are not
Mm,
naive about that factor. Um,
mm,
but I think my story is rather a story of self-acceptance.
yeah.
The magic of life that you can experience if you gravitate
Mm,
towards yourself, if you live your own truth
mm,
unapologetically. With
yeah.
that, I have learned I don't
Okay.
owe
You're
anybody an
lagging. You're lagging
explanation for
again,
who
Doni.
I.
There we go. Much better.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wanted to say is I feel I don't owe anybody any explanation. I'm going to
Mm,
quote Martin Luther King, who said, "Do not judge a man by the skin tone or by the color of his skin, but rather by the
mm,
content of his character." And I
yeah.
try and live by that. Judge
Mm,
me for the things that I do that is inhumane. Judge me for the things that I do that is illegal, that is dishonest, that is
mm,
corrupted. Judge me for those
mm,
things, but not for something where I'm not hurting or harming anybody. In fact,
mm,
I
mm,
am giving 3 kids a life. And I
yeah.
would like to think a pretty good one at that, together with my husband. Obviously, we couldn't do this
Yeah.
on our own. And
Yeah.
I mean, we've created our own community, Pale. So we're not we're not out there looking for trouble. We're not out there looking for haters. They are there,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
are congregating by themselves. Not over here though. You're not invited to this party because over here love wins.
Yeah. Yeah. For those who express the opinion that children who are raised in households that are gay, that are lesbian, that are transsexual, that are transgender, those kind of households, and feel like those kids start at a disadvantage, what would you say to them? And not even like in a catty way, not in a throwing shade way, because generally when people reject a thing they don't understand, it's really just based on fear.
Mm,
You know what I mean? People fear what they don't
yeah,
understand, what they don't know, and so I think what do you think they should know that would maybe get them to look at it again or change their mind or understand it more? Yeah, because we
yeah,
don't need to stoop down to that level as well, and also throw shade. That is really me. I'm about
yeah,
solutions. So what would you
yeah.
say to the people that are like, it's disgusting and it's unfair on these kids and how dare you?
Mm. Okay, you know what was unfair? That my
Mm,
father impregnated my mother, and
mm,
he was never there for me. That was unfair.
yeah,
You know what is unfair? A mother abandoning her child at birth, wrapping that child up in a cloth and leaving it on the side of the road to
yeah,
die. That is unfair.
yeah,
You know what else is unfair? Parents out there abusing alcohol, abusing drugs, uh, not caring for their child because society says children need to be raised by a mother and a father. What is
mm,
unfair is a child being raised in an abusive environment, in a home that is abusive, where the husband abuses the woman or the woman abuses the husband, where
yeah,
there's all sorts of social ills at the very core of that child's upbringing. That is what is unfair. Take away the sexuality, the sexual aspect, because the child is never involved in those things. What happens
mm,
between my husband and I happens between my husband and I. That is sacred.
yeah,
That happens in the sanctity of our marriage. We don't
mm,
invite anybody in on that.
mm,
So how has our married or our wedded bed, how does that have anything to do with anybody? And even if we were not married and we were just
mm,
living together, if we are able to provide these kids stability, security, a roof over their head, education, a well-rounded upbringing,
mm,
why could we not have a family?
mm,
So go and educate yourself about humanity, not sexuality, because
mm,
I am not my sexuality. Sexuality
yeah,
is a part of who I am. Would it
mm,
matter if I was a heterosexual man raising these children by myself?
yeah,
It's not. To raise a child as a single parent is not a thing. It's
mm,
hard raising kids. It's hard for my husband and I to raise these three kids by ourselves together
mm,
as a couple. It's hard. I cannot imagine what my mother must have felt, what she had gone through by herself raising five kids. No wonder I
yeah,
had to drop out of school.
yeah, yeah. So what
Stop
did
judging
you?
people. Just educate yourself on people in general. Judge
Mm,
me if I'm abusing the kids. Judge
mm,
me if I am doing anything immoral or unlawful to those kids. Judge me for that. Not because I love my husband.
yeah, yeah. So Donnie, how does someone who didn't have a father become a father? Like where do you draw from? Where do you draw from? Because I think I haven't seen you being a father, but we've had a lot of conversations about parenthood, and I believe that you are a father. I think that a lot of our values are aligned. Where did Donnie draw from in order to be able to be a father and be a good father to three children when that was never modeled to you?
Popo, I want to
Mm-hmm.
be to these kids what I needed.
Mm.
I remember that very, very clearly. I know
Yeah.
what I needed growing up.
Mm.
I needed someone to teach me to ride a bike. I needed someone to play TV games with me. I needed someone to kick a ball with me. I needed someone to do homework with me. I needed someone to pick me up when I fall. I needed someone to
Mm.
hold me when I'm sick. I needed someone to encourage me when I'm nervous for an exam, when I'm struggling with
Mm.
my math, when I am not able to string sentences together, when I have to take on a new thing and I'm nervous and I'm scared. I needed someone there for me to encourage me to say, I believe in you. That's
Yeah.
what I needed. And you know what? I see my children need that. So I am
Mm.
that for them. And I'm
Amazing.
also going to hold on to the words that my mother left for my late sister. She said
Mm-hmm.
when she was pregnant with Dijon, she said she held the belly and she said, "My daughter, remember, there's no such thing as the perfect parent." And
Mm.
I'm gonna hold that near and dear to my heart. I'm gonna try and be the best parent that I
Yeah.
possibly can, together with my husband, and we make a formidable team. I give
Mm-hmm.
100% credit to him
Mm-hmm.
for our style of parenthood because we're literally a tag team.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no book, Popo. There's no book that teaches us. So it's trial and error, and it's frustration, and
Absolutely.
it's prayer, and it's biting your tongue, and it's walking out of the room sometimes when you feel I'm going to lose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's allowing them to throw tantrums. It's allowing. I mean, it's just it's love. It's literally just love.
Yeah.
And that's what I
Yeah.
needed, and that's what I'm giving. That's all I've got.
Yeah.
I'm gonna love on them. And you know
Yeah.
what? When you love, you can do no harm. I truly believe
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. Yo, Donnie, and an hour is gone, my darling.
Just like that.
An hour is gone just like that. Donnie, thank you so much. I really, I think you've watched a few of my podcasts, and
I
you know
did.
that I definitely always, I like to be surrounded by people I feel are brave, and I feel like you are brave. I think it's unfortunate that a person being themselves takes bravery, because that's not how it should be. Um, but you are brave, and you are strong, and you are dynamic, and you are a change maker. And I feel like your children are so privileged to have you as a father, as an example, as a mentor, as a coach. Yeah, and I'd really just like to express that from my end. I believe in giving people their flowers while they can still smell them. I know for you it's just you going about your life, doing your thing, taking care of your responsibilities, but a lot of people opt out. A lot of people decide that, nah, I don't feel like it. Hence we've got deadbeat baby daddies, and we got moms who just abandon their kids because some people decide not to do it. So I feel like acknowledgement of that it's something I'm going to acknowledge, and I'm going to acknowledge strongly. And I think I'd also like to thank you for allowing me and allowing strangers really into your space, and sharing your energy with us, and sharing your knowledge with us, and just sharing with us. I really, really appreciate it, and I'm always going to express appreciation as well, because I feel like the world doesn't have enough of that too.
I appreciate that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Popo.
No. It's my pleasure. Thank you. But you are a coach, as you mentioned at the
Yes,
beginning.
I
Can you
am.
let people know how they can get in touch with you? Your social media handles. I think right now people are a lot of people, including myself, are having a mental health crisis. I think right now more than ever, psychologists, psychiatrists, coaches, etc., have become a necessity. So I feel like what you offer has become, what do they call them? Essential. you
Essential
become
service.
you've become an essential worker. So how can, and I can vouch for you. I can vouch for Donnie 100%. He has walked me through a couple of things. I haven't paid him, but he's walked me through a couple of things, and I can definitely say that as much as he's a professional, he's also warm and welcoming, and I can vouch for not just his work, but also the energy that he puts into his work, and therefore breathes into the process with you. Go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. So it's very, very simple. The spelling of my name, Doni, surname Muller. That's it on every platform. That's how you find me. There's no twining to my name. It's Doni Muller on all platforms: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. My email address, also very simple to remember. It's hello Donny at donnymuller.com. Hello Donny at donnymuller.com. Get in touch with me. Ask me any questions. Even in the comment section down below, because I'm going to be watching y'all, how you're interacting. Ask me any questions if you have. If you want to have a personal one-on-one with me, drop me an email or get in touch with me on social media. Doni Muller.
Fantastic. Thank you, Donnie. God bless you. God bless your family. Go unlock your children and let them use the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thanks to everyone for tuning in and for sharing this. And please tune in to Popo's podcast. Watch all of his stuff. I am completely in love with this woman, and no, I'm not planning on cheating on my husband. I'm staying faithful, but I can still love on her as well. She's an amazing, amazing speaker, orator, writer, host. I just love her as a person. So thank you so much for granting me the opportunity to come onto your platform and share my story. And I hope that this was an encouragement to other people of the LGBTI community out there. Hit me up if you want to ask me any questions. If you're struggling with anything right now, drop me a line. I promise you it's going to stay between us. Confidentiality guaranteed.
Awesome. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you again.
And good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
That was Doni Muller, who is my friend, who is a life coach, who is a who is a gay man living a positive life and raising beautiful kids in South Africa. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing me into your space. I would like to send prayers out and love out to the country in general. We're really going through very trying times right now. We're not strong. We're not strong. We need each other more than ever. So I'd like to send prayers, blessings, love, light, all of the above. God bless you, and I'll see you for another installment of Married to Me with Popo next week. Good night.